Students should be allowed to continue learning in the safety of their homes. Daily lessons are made available in Smart Class. Aside from lessons, disease, like health crisis. But this should not impede learning. Students should be allowed. First, Smart Wizard. These work serves as a manual for monitoring the learning progress of students at home. It is also available in lessons are made available in Smart Class. Aside from lessons,
Good day, Kavibal, and welcome to our Supplemental Materials webinar series. For this afternoon session, our topic would be on supplementary learning materials and the fourth industrial revolution. Before we begin, take note of the following reminders. Make sure you are registered to the webinar to have your e-certificate of participation. Visit certificate.vibalgroup.com to generate your proof of attendance. Place your questions on the comment box allotted during the session and they will be addressed by our speaker later on. Share the video using hashtag LearnAsOnePH as our official hashtag to our Vibal webinars. Experience learning, Kavibal. And now, to proceed with our webinar this afternoon, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished speaker. Our speaker today is one of the affiliates, one of the educators from the National Teachers College. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Paulo Joseph Blando.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. Kamusta po kayo? And I hope you are doing well. And it's good to see you. Okay, though it might not be a face to face, but in a virtual manner. So allow me to share my screen. Okay. So this afternoon, I have been tasked to share with you something on supplementary learning materials in the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, so I think this is the first of the series, and I hope you will be able to uh, take note of very important points, essential points that we will be able to see and use. And then secondly, perhaps there might be very good ideas and insights that you would like to share with us. So I'm looking forward to that in a little while. So we will be using Slido. So I hope that if you can download the Slido app, or if you can just access it, just type slido.com in your search engine, and then please key in the hashtag 5087 for this afternoon's session. Okay, and and I think we're ready. I'll just give you siguro mga 30 seconds to access Slido, because some of the questions that we will be having this afternoon will be found in Slido. And by the way, joining me this afternoon are my students, graduate school students from the National Teachers College. I would like to say hi to Neil and Lawrence. They're my students, so they'll be joining me, and as we try to answer the questions, I'll be also asking them to share their thoughts. So Neil, Lawrence, maybe you can say hi and greet our viewers, because I think you have classmates joining from the National Teachers College as well. So Lawrence and Neil, perhaps you can have a 30-second greeting.
Yeah, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, fellow educators. So I am very pleasured for this afternoon to be with my professor, Sir PJ, and of course with the Vival as well. Thank you so much for this privilege and for this opportunity to share at least some of what I know, especially as we go through along the learning continuity plan on the new normal. Thank you po.
Thank you, Neil. Lawrence, can you say hi as well?
Okay, good afternoon, everybody who are now watching in our program this afternoon. I would like to thank Bibal Group and also Sir PJ for giving us the opportunity like this to share the insights regarding the new normal system in education. Thank you, sir, and thank you, Bibal.
Okay, so let's now proceed. So our session this afternoon has basically four parts. Okay, so this is a session in four parts. The first part is learning matters, or hashtag learning matters. The second part will be the learner. So we'd look at the learner. Very quickly. And then third, trying to zero in on the look at learning vis-a-vis the fourth industrial revolution. So I think we're now ready to proceed. So let's now go to the first poll. Okay. Sige. So let me just activate. I'll just have to go to Slido. So I will have to activate the first poll. Okay. The first poll is now available online. So you can see it and you can access it now. So I'd like you to answer the poll as honestly as possible. Okay, so we're now seeing answers. There are already 150 respondents. Okay, let's wait. Let's give siguro mga 1 more minute. Wow. Neil and Lawrence, later on, I'll ask for your observations regarding our poll. So I hope you are seeing our poll right now. We have 500 respondents now, 600. Sana umabot tayo ng 1,000. Okay,
Yes, sir. I'm monitoring the poll and
good,
at the same
good.
time, the Q&A. It
Yeah,
seems like the people are very active.
wow, we have 1,050, 1,076, 1,100 respondents. Ang dami. Sige. So, right now we're already seeing something in our poll. So, Lawrence and Anil, can you share your thoughts? Bakit kaya na 60% of our participants this afternoon, they're saying they're ready 50-50. What are your thoughts on that? Anyone can begin. Siguro I'll give you 1 minute each. Lawrence or Neil, who would like to start?
Perhaps, sir, maybe because there are 60% na nagsabi 50-50. Well, probably is that wala kasing substantial na program or there's no substantial support ang binibigay for the teachers. Even though this will be new to us, actually talagang new to us talaga tong online learning. And I think that that makes it 61%. As of now, 61% po ang nagsabi na 50-50 sila.
Right, right. Thank you for your thoughts. Neil, Neil pala. Lawrence, how about you? What can you say about the poll?
Okay, so 2 months before, almost 2 months, no, before the formal start of the classes for the school year 2020-21, we are still in process of training teachers, giving professional orientation to them regarding the setup of the new normal system. So up to this time, talagang yung mga teachers nag-a-adjust pa at saka piling lugar pa lang talaga yung maaaring maka-access ng mga sinasabi natin na digital platforms. So hindi lahat ng area malalakas ang signal. Talagang 50-50 talaga isip ng mga teacher kung talaga magiging successful or mapoprostrate ang naiisip nating magiging sistema pagdating ng August. That's all, sir.
Thank you, Lawrence. And right now, no, we have almost 2,200 respondents, and 65% are saying really that it's 50-50. But take note, there is 21%. That's also a big chunk of the respondents who are saying that they are somewhat ready. Okay? So that is, I think, lower than 50%. And then there's 6% who are saying they're 100% ready. May 5% who are also saying na not ready. And we have 2%, it's hard to tell at this time. Okay? Sige. So let's continue. So if that's the case, I think it would be readiness would really depend on how open we are to the changes that's happening to us. At the same time, the desire should be there to really move on despite the pandemic, despite the difficulties that we are facing right now. Okay, so Neil and Lawrence, I hope you can continue to monitor the poll because I think that will tell us a lot about what will be our next few steps. Okay, so the learning session first part is learning matters. Okay, so I think we all know for a fact that learning should continue, but I think we also have a mandate to really make sure that whatever we are trying to see fit and what we wanted to make our learners learn at this time should be concentrated on these three key mandates. Okay. So what should that be? So what's our mandate so that continuity of learning can be done? So first is Maslow before Bloom. I know you're familiar with Abraham Maslow and his hierarchy of needs, and Benjamin Bloom. Benjamin Bloom, who is responsible for the tier in our learning. So when we say Maslow before Bloom, we make sure that health, safety, and well-being come first. Okay, so it is a requisite that as teachers, that as members of the school educative community, we make sure that the learners, our teachers, our school personnel, we we make sure that they're healthy, we make sure that they're safe with their families, and that we do really consider their well-being. So that's our first mandate. The second mandate is to restore a sense of normalcy. So we've been hearing a lot of the new normal today, but I think the continuity of learning is anchored on the restoration of a sense of normalcy, because I think our learners have to make sense of all that is happening to us right now. And I think it is not only the responsibility of teachers to explain this, but even our parents, the older siblings, the guardians, and even community members. And I think that's why when we engage in learning and learning discussion, it will restore that sense of normalcy. And last but not the least, there is impact when we ask our students to stop from educating themselves, because it will impact on their future. Please take note that there had been studies already done that 1 year of stopping from education has economic downfall, okay, or it can trigger economic difficulties on the part of the student who will later on be part of the job market. Okay, so I think we are in according to sino nga ito, The Tale of Two Cities, Charles Dickens. We are in the lights and the shadows. So we are now traversing difficult times, but at the same time, these are opportunity moments for us to make sure that whatever we're doing is for our children's future. Okay? So 3 points that we should be mindful of as part of the continuity of learning mandate. Again, Maslow before Bloom, which I think you've been very familiar with. Number 2 is restoring a sense of normalcy. And number 3 is the impact of stopping education to our children's future. So I will move to the next poll, because the next poll will be very interesting. Okay? So I am now activating the second poll so that we can generate more feedback. So Lawrence, and let's now go to poll number 2. Okay, ready? Go. Please answer the second poll. Hi, Lawrence and Anil. Can you see the poll now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's just wait for the responses to enter. So we now have about a 40. Okay. Look at the trend. So let's wait for 1,000 respondents. Very interesting.
As of the moment, sir, we have already 596 on the figure. Oh, 700 plus.
Ang bilis ng talo na.
110.
They're very active.
Right. I hope that this can be our experience of the next election. We can immediately see the results.
I
And
think so.
so right now we have 1,300.
Yes, 1,369.
Ang
Yes.
bilis. Sige, let's just siguro mga 1.5 and then ayan 1.5 na.
1.5 na, sir.
Anong mapapansin nyo? What is
Getting higher.
what is the main concern of our respondents? Ha? Let's start with ngayon naman Lawrence. Anong masasabi mo, Lawrence?
So the main concern at this time of many teachers and even the learners and even the parents also is that the safety and wellness of students and teachers. So we can do everything online for whatever we do face to face. Talaga pong nakakapag-adjust tayo sa sitwasyon, talagang mailalagay pa rin natin yung kaligtasan at tawag dito, kaligtasan at gayon din yung pagiging maayos ang kondisyon ng ating mga estudyante, yung kanilang kalusugan. That's all,
Right.
sir.
Thank you, Lawrence. I think I would like to zero in on what Lawrence has said, that even if we are in distance learning, we can still try to observe certain practices that we're doing on a face-to-face to the online delivery mode. So how about you, Neil? Now we can still say that, again, it's still 39% safety and wellness is the main concern of our respondents. How about you, Neil? What can you say?
Yes, sir. I think here in this concern, safety and wellness, maybe the educators and the parents are not only after of the safety, kung gaano ba kaligtas lumabas, but I think they are referring here is the safety and the wellness or the security. That when we say security, talaga bang matututo yung anak ko, or how can this happen na talagang matututo yung mga anak ko with this kind of modality or the new modality that we are referring to. I think that somehow po na yun yung pinopoint out nila. It's not just only the health aspect but even the cognitive, kung paano natin matatransmit yung learning talaga ng successfully. Yun po.
Thank you, Neil. That's also a good point, no, na aside from us just looking at the security and wellness, since pumapangalawa si student readiness, I think that's what you're telling us, Neil. Kasi how ready are our learners to transition to that kind of learning? Kasi kung mapapansin nyo, at least half moving towards half yung safety, then nagtatalo si student readiness and material preparation. Pero this is a very good exercise because we now get a feel of where our respondents are. And take note, we now have 2,600 respondents who are on this call.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's good to know. So for those of you who are joining our session this afternoon, thank you for your responses. This means a lot to us because we now have a temperature check of where you are, and I think this will also be translated on how we can still help you further. Okay? Sige. So moving forward, you can still monitor the you can still monitor Slido naman, right? Neil and Lawrence, so that we can just have visibility later on. Okay, sige. So let's continue. Wow! According to Miss Kia of Vibal, we have 26,000 viewers. Wow! Hello.
Wow.
Hello. Grabe, nakakatuwa naman. 26,000. So siguro later on, we would like to find out if you're from Luzon, or if you're from Visayas, or you're from Mindanao. We would like to hear your thoughts and let your thoughts be counted. Okay? Sige. So nakakatuwa. Thank you, Miss Kia, for the updates. Okay. Let's now proceed. So, we saw a while ago that many of our concerns, number one, no, ang pumatak talaga is safety and wellness. And I think it's because we've mentioned a while ago that it should be really Maslow over Bloom. Okay? And then pumapangalawa naman will be student readiness. And then pangatlo will be materials preparation. So, Lawrence and Neil, kung kayo yung tatanungin, ano sa inyo ang dapat maging priority ng teachers like you? So, for the benefit of our viewers, Neil is also teaching, Lawrence is also teaching. I think Lawrence is teaching in a public school, while Neil is teaching in a private school. So, what are your thoughts? Kung kayo ngayon ang tatanungin, Neil at saka Lawrence, ano ang main concern mo? Kung bibigyan ka lang ng isa, what would that be?
For me, as a public school teacher, I prepare safety and wellness of my fellow teachers or my fellow colleagues and also my learners, because we can consider that each one of us are frontliners, no? humaharap kami, hindi maiiwasan yung magkakaroon ng close contact, and you don't know who is the carrier of the virus or of the disease. And so, we have to take note of the safety of everybody kasi wala pa namang vaccine. Tapos, ang mangyayari niyan, makikipagsapalaran tayo. And if we observe up to this time, yung mga bagay na nagawa natin doon sa normal situation, sa face-to-face, magagawa pa rin naman natin in this kind of modality sa online.
Thank you,
That's also.
Lauren. Thank you. Neil, bago ka sumagot, merong nag-comment sa YouTube. Ang tanong niya, yes, first and foremost, the health and safety of the learners and teachers should be given attention. But at the same time, it's good that education will continue. Okay, will continue, tama. Using blended learning. I think, siguro let's try to contextualize when we say blended learning, it means may face-to-face and merong online or may distance. Right now po, ang pinapayagan lamang po ay distance learning. Okay? When we say distance, wala pong face-to-face. It can only be through online or through modular, or it can be a combination of modular and online. So now let's move on to Neil. Neil, how
Yes.
about you?
Yes, Sir PJ. For me, if I would pick among those concerns, I would prefer to access to resources. Well, we have to admit that there are lots of resources in the internet, and not just only in the internet, but even in offline. There are lots of resources. But the question is, how can we tell that these resources are really accessible? How can we tell that these resources would be really beneficial and at the same time relevant? Ang labanan po kasi ngayon, hindi lang madami kang resources na alam or madami kang pwedeng options, but the question is, how can these options will totally help you to address the current situation, the current need, and how would this really equip the students? Kaya po, I think madami talagang parents ang, madaming question marks because we don't know talaga. So I think I would go to the access to resources.
Thank you, Neil. We have another comment from YouTube. Hi, she is Rodella Billones, and her main concern is how can I be an effective teacher in this new modality? Wow. So I think, Rodella, ikaw ang makakasagot ng tanong mo later on. But I think as long as you are open about the changes that's happening right now, and that you know that your heart is into it, then I think you can really navigate this, should we say, really challenging times, no? Because no one has prepared us for this, and I think at this time what we can only do is just to really help out, reach out, and do the best that we can with the best intentions and with the best preparation, and of course with the resources that's available. So please keep on typing your comments in YouTube, or Neil, I think makikita rin natin yung mga tanong natin. Lawrence and Neil, I'd like you to also explore ang ating Slido. I think there are also questions in Slido that you can type here in our Zoom account so that we can read their comments later on. So thank you, Neil. Thank you, Lawrence. And thank you, dear teacher.
Yes, Sir PJ.
For sharing your concerns right now. So why did I ask concentration of many webinars had to do? But right now, in a little while, help students better prepare, how we can look at resources, how can we help teachers at the same time. Okay, so thank you for that. Okay, so I think we are all very familiar with our MELCs. Okay, it had been released very timely by the department. What competencies are the most important? Okay, from the thousands, they were able to really narrow it down using a funneling technique just to select what would be most helpful or beneficial for our learners. So I think we now have access to that, and they are already available online. So my dear teachers, I know you can access it, and please do have a copy, because I'd like you also to look at it and check the alignment of whatever materials that you will be using later on. Okay? So let's now go to part 2. So tapos na tayo sa part 1, the learning matters. Now, let's look at the learner. Okay? And who is our learner? Okay. So take note, my dear teachers, my dear participants of this webinar, our learners can be found in those who have varied needs. Okay. So when you talk about varied needs, it's not just learners in terms of their connectivity issues, yung may connectivity, walang connectivity, or yung talagang 50-50, may connectivity pero paminsan-minsan lang kasi kulang sa load. Pero I think that's not only the issue here. The issue should also be about the kind of learners in terms of their learning proficiency. Okay? So I think that should also be part of the learner needs. But not only that, we also have learners who have special needs. Okay? And I think that's something that we need to also address at the same time. So when we say learner needs, we have to make sure that our learners are ready for the learning modality. So I think that was the question a while ago of Rodella. No? So how can she be effective in whatever learning modality? So I think, Rodella, the question would be, what learning modality with your school use? Okay? Or if you're in the public school, there are some LGUs who are going to partner with their own local schools and use online learning. So if that's the case, are you now going to be ready for that? Or if not for online learning, maybe you would be using correspondence, or some might be using the radio, some might be using also the TV. So whatever modality that you might be able to use, I think the goal here is to understand where our learners are, or what we now call the learner context. The second thing that we should know about our learners is what is their, if they have available resources. Okay, like what I like what Neil said a while ago about resources, about learning resources. If the resources are relevant, if the resources are suitable. So I think that will be part of our later discussion. And last but not the least, home support. Okay, because take note, in this pandemic, our modalities would really be remote learning or distance learning. So we need the help of our parents, or if not, our home guardians, or our home companions, sila ate, sila kuya, sila lolo, or sila lola. We need to make them part of that discussion, because I think especially for parents who will be working and who have now started working and who are now worried what would happen to their kids, because if their kids are now left at home, who will make sure that they're doing the learning activities that they are supposed to be doing? Okay, so I think these are three important things that we should know of where our learners are, what resources do they have, and what kind of support do they receive at home. So my dear participants, I like you to take note of this, because these are key elements in our preparations of supplementary materials later on. So here, so if you were able to prepare your LCPs, or what we call as the learning continuity plan, okay, they should all embrace the 4 Ps. Okay, let me just ask Lawrence and Neil. Neil or Lawrence, ano kayang P ang dapat nyong tutukan ngayon? I would just like to ask for your feedback. Do we have 4 Ps, and I think these 4 are important. Pero for you, what do you think would be important? So I can also ask Kia. Kia, if you can also chime in, that will be good for us to hear you also. sa ating mga viewers sa YouTube, you can also key in, ano ba, pace ba ang mas mahalaga, place ba, process or product. Pero ngayon tanungin muna natin si Neil or si Lawrence. Neil or Lawrence, anyone?
Sir?
Yes, Lawrence.
So for me, we have to focus on to process kasi ang product po natin nakadepende sa kung paano siya itinuro. Okay? So for example, in the examination, so if our objective and if our instruction or direction is not clear, then might be the students will fail or will get failing scores. Kasi nga hindi naging maayos yung proseso kung paano nila gagawin, ano ba yung expected output, yung outcome na dapat nating makita, kung ano ba yung standards na dapat nating ma-meet. Okay, sir.
Wow.
That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's a very important point that you've raised there, Lawrence. How about you, Neil?
Yes, Sir PJ. I would go with Sir Lawrence, the process. Somehow, if I would look back, this pandemic season or this, this COVID-19 really taught me and allowed me to look back of my previous processes. Kung paano ko ba ginawa yung lesson ko, paano ko tinuro yun sa mga bata. And every night, if I would come to bed and sleep, I would always think of that. Paano ko nga ba tuturuan yung mga bata? Paano ko mas magiging effective? Kahit na hindi nila ako nakikita personally or face to face, it would always fall sa process. And I think ito talaga yung tinuturo sa atin ng pandemic, that we should go back and we should learn from our maybe not totally mistake or failure na process na nagawa natin sa buhay natin. And I think this pandemic is giving us a chance to really launch out a more innovative process. So therefore, I would go along with process.
Thank you. Thank you. Kia, meron na ba tayong mga nag-comment sa YouTube? Can you share them if what should be their focus right now, whether that's space, place, process, or product? Kia?
Okay po, sir. We have here a response from Miss Maria Irene Alajid. Sabi niya po, sir, place sa akin kasi mas importante ang security ng mga bata. Yung iba, makakaya na yan ng teacher. Basta dedication ang kailangan.
Thank you. May isa pang nagsabi. How about
Yes, sir. This is from Miss Johanna Gail Tongko. Sabi naman po niya, hello, for me, everything should be given emphasis as these are all pivotal in the learning process.
Siguro sa mga nakikinig at na ating kasama ngayon, no, siguro lagi nagsasabi, bakit kailangan pumili ng isa kung pwede namang lahat? I think that's a very wise decision. Pero right now, I think it would be really critical that we should know what would be the P that you need to start with. Kasi I think that will also spell out a lot of what would be the next action steps. Okay? Siguro kung ako yung tatanungin, para sa akin ang pinaka-crucial na dapat nating masagot is space. Okay? Ako kasi I would really go back to the child, to the learner. But again, there's no wrong answer kasi it really depends on the context of where you're in. So thank you for those who are sharing in YouTube. Please keep typing your answers. I think that will be very good because we are reading your comments, and I would like to say hello to all our participants, and of course I know that we have my students in the National Teachers College who are also viewing us on YouTube. So one more, sabi ni Jing Santiago, I agree with Lawrence, process. How clear the deliberation of the lessons among students, but it could have some combination with pace. So let us consider our students' real situation. Very good. I think I also agree with that kind of observation. So I think we are now looking at very meaningful responses. No? So I really suggest that you keep on typing your questions, insights. We now have 30,000 views. Maraming salamat. Salamat sa mga nakakatuwa naman, Kiana. Baka naman tayo lang ito, ha? 30,000, Kiana. Okay, maraming salamat. Thank you, thank you. Sige, so let's continue. By the way, Neil and Lawrence, if there are questions in our Slido, can you please type them in our Zoom group chat? Okay, so let's continue. So now is another poll. Okay, so again, let's now go to our Slido account. I will ask for your answers to this question. Sorry, balik tayo. Okay, sige. So, I will now launch the next poll. What is learning experience for you? So, you have to type your answers, my dear participants. Type your answers. What is learning experience for you? Okay, ready? Type them now. Type, please access your Slido. We need your responses. Anyone who can. Okay, ang ganda nung sinasabi, no? It should be hands-on. It should be fun. Wow, ang lalim nito. A lifetime journey. What else? Ano pa po? It should be Lawrence and Neil, baka pwede nyo akong tulungan magbasa.
Yes, sir. Actually, ang bilis po ng pagpasok. There are some saying that learning activity. There are some saying that it should be great and success. There are some it should be not very that complicated. There are some saying practical learnings. What about you, Sir Lawrence? So far, more of them are saying fun and learning.
Dapat engaging, dapat ano. How about you, Lawrence? Anong napansin mo nakakaiba? Andiyan pa ba si Lawrence? Baka iniwan na tayo. Sumama na
Wait
sa
lang,
YouTube.
sir. Binabasa ko pa.
Ang haba nitong may nag-type na napakahaba. Sino ito? It is
Yes,
something
sir.
that we encountered. Okay? It's discovering potentials. It should be entertaining. It gives value to the person. O sige, Lawrence, ikaw naman, basa kung meron kang nakitang maganda. By the way, can you access it in your phone as well? You're accessing...
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sige, basa. Ay, meron talagang kumuha ng definition sa internet, ha. Itong nakita ko, yung learning experience refers to any sa internet siya galing. Nabasa ko yun. Sige. It is a process I undertake to help students achieve their goals. It is not only the basis for what is learned. It is real life. There should be adventure. It's grasping knowledge. Sige. So nakakailan na tayong nag-share? 900!
There are already
Talking about
1,000 plus,
30,000.
sir.
What else?
Some would say challenging, interactive, must be reality, enjoyable, authentic learning, sir. Effective and purposeful.
Wow, napakaganda nun, ha. So it may life situations, it should be lifelong. Wow, may total physical response. May iba nagsabi attended seminar. Oo. Sige. It should be two-way. Ang ganda nun. It should be two-way. I will save this, no? Ang ganda ng mga sinasabi ng ating mga participants and I like to... So kung kaya ko lang silang kausapin ng live ngayon, no, napakaganda, sana makakausap natin sila. O may nagsasabi, it's very broad daw. If you ask this question 1,000 times, hindi ko mabasa yung nag-comment. Anyway, sige. Marami siyang ibig sabihin. Oo. Sige. No one should be left behind. Talaga lang. Okay. Something worth sharing. It should be differentiated. For me, it's learning experience is, ano to? It's between process and learning. Should be the best lesson. Wow, ang ganda sinabi. Something unforgettable. Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Sige. So we now have 1,600. So let's see, no? I'd like to ask you, Neil and Lawrence, para sa inyo, ano naman ang learning experience? Based on your personal experience, pag sinabing learning experience, what comes to mind?
Sir,
Yes, Lawrence.
simple word only. Learning
Ano?
experience is an academic exposure.
Grabe,
When we say
napaka-technical
diba?
naman nun, Lawrence. Sige, bakit
Academic
mo
exposure
nasabi?
siya.
Can I ask you to explain further, Lawrence?
Syempre, di ba? When we say academe, talagang tumutukoy siya sa eskwelahan, whatever we got or whatever we are getting from our school, from our teacher, from our classmates, from our colleagues. Learning experience na yan kasi there is a sharing and also nakakakuha tayo ng kaalaman mula dun sa sinishare nila. And from what they have shared with us, na-apply natin, and pagka na-apply natin yon, especially, let's say for example, sa values education class. So, masasabi natin na naging maayos, naging successful ang learning experience ng isang bata kung na-apply niya yung moral values sa kanyang buhay. Hindi
Right.
lang siya basta itinuro, kundi nakita na practice, talagang na-expose siya sa karamihan ng mga tao, pinapakita niya yung learning na nakuha niya mula doon sa four corners ng class. That's all, sir.
Thank you, Lawrence. Neil, how about you, Neil?
Yes, sir. Maybe for me, if I would say what is a learning experience, it is something or it is a process that should be unforgettable.
Mm-mm.
Since I'm teaching in elementary, and I think this is somehow that, you know, make this learning journey successful if we try to make learning unforgettable to the students kasi hindi sila makakalimutin. And of course, this is somehow that we should foster always to our students not to forget the learning. Kasi hindi natin sila, parang medyo mahirap kapag tinuruan sila ng parang something, but I think that this would be perfectly described what is a learning experience unforgettable. Yan po.
Sige. Thank you, Neil. At dahil unforgettable, sasabihin ko na kung ano ang nilalaman ng isang learning experience. So, I think all of you who've shared their thoughts, they have, should we say, meron siyang nakalakip doon na very important element na pwede nating gamitin. Sige. So, pag sinabi nating learning experience, okay, it's 3 points. Number 1, a learning experience can be an activity, can be a program, can be an interaction, or can be an intervention. Okay? It can be done individually by the learner himself or herself, or it can be done by a group. It can be mediated. Okay? Number 2, it should be consciously done. Ibig sabihin, dapat there is what we call, there's a sense of purpose. So tama yung binabanggit ni Lawrence at saka ni Neil kanina sa ating mga fellow webinar participants. There should be a sense of purpose. Okay? And then lastly, it leaves a lasting impression. So tama si Neil, dapat unforgettable. Kumbaga sa Twilight series, dapat nag-i-imprint, no? Because kaya yung mga lessons na pinaka natatandaan natin ngayon, these are the lessons that left lasting impressions on us. So, my dear teachers who are now on this webinar, please remember that when you design learning experiences in the new normal, remember you will not be there. So, how can you design a learning experience that will leave a lasting impression on your learner? I think that's the challenge right now. And I think for all teachers here on this call, para masabi nating effective tayo, only effective teachers can leave that impression. Okay? Na it's not about memorizing, pero it's about making sense and making that experience really worthwhile. Okay? So we can now say that a learning experience is any experience that has left an imprint, an unforgettable imprint in us. Okay? So that's about the learner. And for us to examine how to make that happen, let's use David Kolb. Okay? Sa mga nakakakilala po kay David Kolb, isa po siya sa ating mga pinag-uusapan natin sa principles of teaching, pinag-uusapan natin sa psychosocial development, because we now understand that for learning to really happen, it has to follow the cycle. Okay? And take note, mahalaga kay Kolb yung concrete experience, kasi in the concrete experience, it should be holistic. When you say concrete experience, it should be multisensory. Okay, so just this summer I'm teaching Philippine Studies, and my class right now, we're experimenting using the five senses. So how will we be able to use our five senses in order to arrive at special topics in Philippine Studies? So that's one, experience. Because we need to feel it. So we need to see, hear, taste, touch, and ano nga nakalimutan ko? And to smell. Okay. But we don't stop with feeling. We don't stop with the experience. Para mas maging noteworthy siya, unforgettable, we need to have the reflective observations. We need to look at the experience from a different vantage point. And then after the observation, then we go to conceptualization. So now we start to form the idea. So tawag natin dito in the case of Archimedes. Remember Archimedes, yung kanyang aha moment. Yun yung formulate ni abstract conceptualization. Remember, Archimedes was able to discover how to determine the volume of irregularly shaped objects. So what he did was he immersed himself in a bathtub, and the amount of water that was displaced was equivalent to the volume of his body. Okay. So that was his aha moment. And that's what we call abstract conceptualization. And then finally, so aside from just experiencing it, just from observing and from making sense, then we also perform, we do. Kaya nga lagi nating sinasabi, kailangan may application na part. Okay? So right now, my dear teachers, if you are going to design your learning experiences, specifically when you prepare your modules, whether that's online or offline, please always remember the learning cycle of Kolb, kasi this will really help you come up with a learning experience that will really be unforgettable. Okay? Sige. So now that we are moving on the third part, so third part na po tayo, I will just have to expedite kasi malapit na po mag 3 o'clock. So at the core of the learning cycle ni David Kolb is what we call as the 3 tiers in the learning cycle. Kasi take note, outcomes, nandiyan na po si outcomes. Outcomes, as we have already defined that because that's already part of your MELC. Okay? That these are the competencies. Okay? Then of course, the other one is the experience. Okay? So, the outcome should be aligned to the experience. Kung ano yung dapat nating iparana sa bata, ano yung dapat niyang pagdaanan, dapat nakikita yon sa experience. Pero at the same time, kailangan nakaakibat din po doon is content. Okay. So now the question is, how much content? Let me give you an illustration. It should only be an inch wide but a mile deep. Hindi siya paramihan ng content. It's about looking at what is the most appropriate content. Kaya ang tawag nga natin ngayon is the essential content. Because not all learners have access online. Or kung meron mang available online, not all of these contents or materials or readings are necessary for the learner to gain exposure with. Okay? So, again, at the center of the outcome, the experience, and the content is the learner. Don't forget that, because I think that is our primary trust in our continuity mandate. Okay. So, there are 3 types of learning content. Okay? So, andito na po tayo, dahan-dahan na po tayong pumapasok sa content, and I hope you are taking note of this. Number one is teacher-generated content. The second is the teacher-curated content. And the last is the learner-developed content. So, may pagkakaiba po yung tatlo. There is a clear distinction among the three. And I'd like us to be familiar with the three because we will be able, we need to prepare these, especially as we try to determine the context of our learners. Okay? Sige. So, first is the teacher-generated content or what we call as the TGC. Okay. Anong ibig sabihin ng TGC? That's teacher-generated content. Number one, we prepare this kind of content because the online resources are not available. It's either the students have no access to internet or maybe that content or material is not really available online. Okay? So these can be our localized materials. So if that's the case, then the teacher has to do something about it. Number two, it is bite-sized. Okay? So maliit lang siya. Yung tamang-tama lang na pwedeng nguyain. Kaya, or what we call in our economics, no, it's the sachet. Okay? Mga sachet. So these are contents in a sachet. Yung kaya lang natin gamitin for this time only. Hindi siya napakadami, pero it's only the essential content because it will now help drive the experience. Number three, again, as I mentioned earlier, that should be covering essential content. And last, but not the least, of course, if this is teacher-generated, it's the teacher who prepares the TGC. So again, the TGC is important, especially if the materials are not available. So if you are going to supplement, if you are preparing your materials, some of them will fall under this category. They are the TGC. Next. So kung may TGC, merong TCC. Okay. Ano naman ang TCC? So these are online resources that are already available. Okay. Kagaya ng binanggit kanina ni Neil, napakadaming resources available online. Pero ang tanong, lahat ba yun dapat nating kunin? Should we all consider them? Should we get all of them? So I think we should use a fine way of trying to make sure that what we get is only are the materials that the students only need to learn. Number two, these resources can be accessed by the students, especially if they're online. Number three, again, they still cover the essential content, but at this time, the teacher is not does not prepare. The teacher organizes. Okay, so you have a repository. Like, take for example, if you're in vSmart, you can upload all these materials in a folder that your learners can access later on. Okay, so we now have cloud-based repositories that you can access, wherein we can put our relevant content there. Okay, so that is TCC. Kanina, teacher-generated. Ngayon naman ay teacher-curated. And then last, learner-developed content, or what we call as LDC. So number one, it is based on learner's experience. So whenever we give an activity to the learner, whatever the learner tries to formulate or will be able to formulate, then that is part of the LDC. Okay? Because take note, in the fourth industrial revolution, the idea now is that the learner is a co-creator. Ibig sabihin, si teacher is not anymore the main dispenser of knowledge. Si bata, the learner, can also be a dispenser of knowledge. Pwede din siyang magbigay. Kaya take note, in this particular aspect of the learning experience, the teacher is not anymore the sage on the stage, but the teacher now becomes the guide at the side because the learner is co-creator. And then last but not the least, that content is relevant and meaningful to the learner. Okay? Sige. So, Neil and Lawrence, alin sa tingin nyo ang dapat nyong mas i-focus ngayon sa inyong preparation? Kasi I know you're now back in school, you're now slowly preparing your materials. ano ang dapat nyong i-focus. So ganun din sa ating nasa YouTube, siguro pakitype po, ano po ba kayo? TGC, TCC, or LDC? Lawrence and Neil, baka, can I ask for your ideas now?
Sir,
Yes, Lawrence, pasok.
since we are now facing the fourth revolutionary, tama po ba? Or
Fourth
the new
Industrial
norm?
Revolution. Grabe, revolutionary.
Revolutionary. I'm just checking if you are listening, sir. Okay,
Yes.
so ito, we have to focus on to learner develop content or LDC. So everything that is relevant and meaningful to the learner must be included in our lesson. So para ma-value po nila, we have to contextualize, we have to localize the material so that they can benefit from it. And also, as part of this learner developed content, we are aiming that our learner is our co-creator. So, hindi lang basta yung tayo yung nagtitid sa kanila, kundi pati sila kumikilos, nagagawa nila yung critical thinking. No? That's why we are pouring them, nagbabato tayo sa kanila, nagbibigay tayo sa kanila ng higher order thinking skills questions, HATS questions, para ma-value nila yung tinuturo natin, yung hindi nagiging bored, nagkakaroon ng interaction, nagiging interactive, and so nade-develop yung skills ng ating mga estudyante hanggang sa sila ay maging well-equipped learners. That's all.
Thank you, Lawrence. At tanong ko lang, Kia, meron na ba tayo, are there comments in our Facebook and our YouTube comments? Siguro if you can type some of the comments, Kia,
Yes
meron ba?
po, sir. Sige po, puro sir ang atin pong comment ay puro LDC.
Puro LDC, so parang hari ng padala, LDC.
Opo. Ayan po, sir. We have here one comment from Mr. Raven Charlene Nieto. LDC, because we are now in the 21st century, they can learn from us and also we can learn from them.
Ay, perfect.
Ayan
Ang ganda nun. So, pwede mong gamitin yung hashtag sa Bibal. Ha? Gamitin mo yon. Learn from them and learn from us. Maraming salamat. Thank you, Kia. Dumako naman tayo kay Neil. Neil, meron kang gustong i-share?
Yes, Sir PJ. In line with your question a while ago, I think as we prepare the learning materials and at the same time the learning experiences for our students, we have to choose this one. I really like this insight from you, Sir PJ, that we have to make the learner as co-creator. Kasi, di ba, parang way back before, nung nag-aaral pa ako, ang laging nasusunod, pero peace lang po sa mga teachers ko before. I love you, everyone. Pero di ba, that's, opo, hello po. Pero this time kasi is, we don't have to treat the students as, ano ba, parang underdogs. Parang, oh, susunod lang kayo sa akin, ganito, ganyan. Though it's important, okay? It's important to tell them to follow instructions, to obey rules, kasi it's part of the discipline. But as we teach them to follow, we have to make them also as creator, innovator, and leader. Yun kasi yung medyo parang absent way back before nung nag-aaral pa ako. But this time, I think as we go along for our preparations, we have to provide experiences which our learners will be a co-creator as well. Kumbaga, ang sarap po sa feeling kapag sinabi ng estudyante, oh, teacher, oh, nagawa ko. Teacher, na-gets ko, tas ito po yung nakuha ko. Kaya minsan, there are times na kapag alam ko, like for example, nung dati pa, nagkakasama pa kami ng mga estudyante ko, nagsasabi na, teacher, ito yung natutunan ko. Kahit na minsan may mali, but of course, we have to appreciate them. Diba? Kasi we see them. Kaya dapat during this new normal, ito dapat yung maging new normal ng mga teachers, na we have to think, we have to treat our students, our co-creator. Mahalaga kasi na nagagabayan natin sila, may feedback. Yan po, Sir PJ.
Okay. Maraming salamat. Thank you, Neil. Neil and Lawrence, thank you for sharing your thoughts. I think that would be very important for us as we continue. So I think the question a while ago would be, so how will we select? How would we know which content? Okay, whether you are going to use TGC or TCC or LDC. meron akong acronym AVC. Okay? AVC. So tandaan, napakadaling tandaan. A, V, and C. Ano nga yung AVC natin? So, what are these? So, the ABCs of materials development. Okay, so sa mga estudyante ko sa grad school, lalabas ito sa ating exam. Hindi, biro lang, okay. Sige, so ang ABC natin ay letter A stands for appropriateness. Okay, so take note, ang material ba, ang content ba ito ay suitable to the level of the learner. Okay, kasi I think that should be a main ingredient. Okay, kaya nga sana no sa mga books natin meron tayong parang MTRCB na nagbibigay ng rating na magsasabi sa atin na SPG na ba to, PG ba yan, R16 ba yan, or R14? Because we need to be guided whether or not the material that we are giving our learners are really suitable. So when you select your supplementary materials, first criteria, is it appropriate? Dapat ba? Baka kasi hindi naman siya kailangan ngayon. Okay? Is it in the new normal? Is it accessible? Is it kaya papasok ba sa budget? So we need to consider that's part of suitability. Number two, it should be valid or validated. Ibig sabihin yung pinagkukunan natin, the sources of our contents are from reliable and credible sources. Lalo na po ngayon, nagkalat po ang fake news. Baka minsan pati fake news masama natin sa content. Maliban na lang kung ang topic po natin ay fake news itself. Pero take note, I think we need to access reliable and credible sources. So that's the third element that we need to consider. And lastly, okay, currency. Hindi ko tinutukoy currency yung ating pera, pero currency in the sense it's current, or another term, currentness or timeliness. Kasi take note, lalo na po ngayon in the pandemic, in the new normal, ang dami pong mga naglalabasang mga concepts, ideas. So I think we also need to take this opportunity to orient our learners kung ano nga po ba sila. Okay? So appropriateness, they should be valid, and of course it's currency. So they are what I call the AVCs of material development. So I think right now gusto kong tanungin din ang ating mga nasa YouTube. Please type in alin dito sa tatlo ang sa tingin nyo ang nagiging focus natin lately, or if not, ano kaya alin dito sa tatlo ang dapat nating mas tutukan, especially that you are now starting to prepare your learning resources and even your supplementary materials. Okay? So your supplementary materials can be, one, they can be teacher generated. Two, they can be teacher curated. Or three, it can be learner developed. So I'd like you to look into ano po ba, saan tayo dapat mag-focus? Sa appropriateness ba? Sa validity ba? Okay? Or sa currency? Sabi ni Ash Kapulong, so hi, good afternoon Ash. Para sa kanya, it's the appropriateness. So dapat daw appropriate siya for the 21st century. Meron pa po bang dadagdag? So mamaya siguro pwede nating mabasa yon sa mga comments sa YouTube. Okay? Sige. So pagpapatuloy ko lang po, dadako na po tayo sa last part. Naku, ang bilis ng oras, no? Actually, 3:00 na. Sana nandyan pa rin po kayo. So the fourth part, learning and the fourth industrial revolution. So nakita natin, looking at the image right now, the picture that you're now seeing in your screen is a girl facing her teacher who is now on the other side. So they are mediated using online learning. Pero nakita nyo po na katabi niya yung abacus, katabi niya yung writing pen, katabi po yung mga books niya. This is the learning normal, okay? In the fourth industrial revolution. Kasi take note, si bata, dala niya yung resources niya. Pero at the same time, present siya. Pero at the same time, meron siyang initiative to learn and to learn what is best. So, the reality in the 21st century and now that we are in the fourth industrial revolution, is what we call as ubiquitous learning. When we say ubiquitous learning, we can learn everywhere. So I think we are now, meron po akong nakitang aklat na nagsasabi that the disappearance of universities or the physical schools mawawala. Bakit? Kasi right now, anywhere we are, kagaya po ngayon sa ating webinar, kayo po ay nasa school, nasa bahay, kayo po ba ay naglalaba ngayon, kayo po ba ay ngayon pa lang kayo nanananghalian o kayo ay may pinapagawa sa school, natututo po kayo kasi hindi kailangan na magsama-sama tayo sa isang lugar. Pwede pa rin tayong matuto kahit nasaan tayo. Because that again is a characteristic of the fourth industrial revolution learning modality, which is what we call ubiquitous learning. Pero take note, my dear participants, my dear teachers, okay, we as we now move forward, we also are being faced with current challenges. Hindi po natatapos. Meron pa rin po. So hindi pa po tapos yung COVID. Meron din po. And I think our government, our medical experts are telling us that this is not the last. Nagkaroon na tayo ng yung Spanish flu, nagkaroon ng bubonic plague, at kung ano-ano pang mga plague ang sumalanta noong mga ilang henerasyon, ilang taon yung nangyari. Pero I think right now the goal is how do we face the four phenomenon, okay? Or what we call as the VUCA phenomenon. Wherein there's volatility. Volatility means things, we cannot grasp things kasi bigla na lang siyang nagbabago, bigla na lang siyang may nangyayari hindi natin inaasahan. Number two, uncertainty. Hindi pa natin alam kailan lalabas po yung vaccine. We don't know whether lift na po ba yung general community quarantine. What else can we do in order na hindi tayo makahawa or mahawa tayo sa iba? And then third, complexity. Kasi right now with climate change, papasok din po ang typhoon season sa atin. So paano yun? Kasi I think sometime May nung nagkaroon ng bagyo or May ba yun or early June, merong evacuation center, so pumunta yung mga tao doon. So posible kayang nahawa din sila. So that makes the concern more complex. And last but not the least, there's ambiguity. Ambiguity because there are many voices that we're hearing na ito ang gawin nyo, ito ang wag nyong gawin, ito ang dapat nating pinag-uusapan. So, how do we level the field? Especially now that we are in the fourth industrial revolution. So, I would like to offer a way by which we can understand and a way of proceeding. Okay? So these are my proposals. So how then should we proceed? Number one, I think as educators, we should continue to value every learner and teacher. Okay? And in valuing every teacher and learner, we are able to highlight the uniqueness of each one. Kasi take note, darating po ang time na ang education po is not anymore one size fits all. Magiging ano na po siya, ang learning or education becomes like a Starbucks model that we can every learner, and the teacher can now share, input, facilitate the way the teacher knows best because we can customize. Second, we overcome volatility, ambiguity, complexity at this time and uncertainty is to inspire the change, because take note is coming. My dear friend, is already here, and that change, be that change. We need to build the nation through education. Very important, especially in the teens. Okay, we cannot be about content. What we'll be teaching is creativity. It's these are the 4 C's of the 21st century, and that's critical thinking, that's communication, that's collaboration, and dagdag pa natin citizenship. And the only way by which we can develop these in every young people today, it's through education. And that's the only way by which we can build our nation. Kaya nga, ang ganda nung term ng Vibal, we learn together, we learn as a nation. We are a learning nation. Fourth, we need to advocate the continuity of learning. Okay, so I know that there are sectors in our community who are saying, itigil mo na ang klase, itigil mo na ang ano. I think it's not about just online learning kasi there are different modalities. And I think even parents have to come to the fore as a frontliner in education, because take note, it's the mandate given to parents by the Constitution that parents are the first teachers. Only the teachers in the formal sector, in the schools, that's where we come in to help reinforce. But again, my dear teachers, my fellow educators, we need to be advocates of the continuity of learning. And finally, in these trying times, we need to lead. We need to lead. So if we value, we inspire, we build, we of the fourth industrial revolution and learning. Okay? Sige. So, I will now go to the second to the last poll. Okay? Sige po. I'm now ending the session now. I'll now transition to the last poll. I'd like you now to review. Okay? Magbabago ba ang iyong rating? Okay? Sige. Ready? Type your answer. So, anong ibibigay mo sa sarili mo ngayong napakinggan mo yung mga Okay, ready, go. Okay, tignan natin. So, ilang respondents na tayo, no? We have 23. So, ang average natin ay 3.2. So keep your votes coming in. I think that will be very good. Okay. Sige pa po.
There are lots of people, Sir PJ. There are lots of people say out of parang 78%, they're saying 3. Prepare that needs to improve on several details.
Oo. Sige, keep on. Parang kanta lang, no? Hold on. Keep on holding on. Okay?
Yes.
Pero dumadami din yung number 2. Oo, dumadami din yung number 2. So, hintayin nating mag 1.5. Okay? Sige. Siguro let's give them 30 seconds. Kukunin ko lang yung charger ko. At ako'y sige. Tayin lang natin. Sige. Kunin ko lang po yung charger ko. Just hold on. Okay, continue. So nakakailang percent na tayo, Neil and Lawrence? Ilang percent na?
Yes, Sir PJ. As of the moment, we have already 1,487 responses or responders. Tapos 77% po ang nagsabi na 3 pa din. Prepared but needs to improve on several details.
Sige, so parang lumalamang ka din si number 3. Okay? With 1,600. Siguro I would like to ask our participants to type their answer sa comment sa YouTube kung bakit nila binigyan yung sarili nila ng 3, bakit 4. Siguro Kia, baka meron na bang mag-share dyan? Hello, Kia.
Yes po, sir. We have here one comment from Miss Jovelyn Kalika. Sabi niya po, sir, it's 75%. I think since majority of those are available, but the remaining 25% will be from the learner and parents' actual participation in the learning process.
That's right. Tama naman, tama. I also agree. Anyone else? Baka ngayon we can already start. If you have questions, I can still enter it for the remaining 5 minutes. Kasi I'm now going to transition to another call. Sige, may nag-comment. I would stand that we are not ready, but there's a need to continue our children's education. Sige, Kuchil, Rabor, talagang the readiness is still a big question. Here lang po, sir, ang question. Kay Joy naman, Joy Sendon, some parents were saying that that in this new normal, parents ang matuto, hindi anak. Anong masasabi ko dito? Actually, parehong dapat matuto ang magulang at saka yung bata in the process. Kailangan pareho. Okay? Kasi take note, kaakibat ng responsibility din ng magulang na magtutulungan din, na tulungan yung kanyang anak. Kung hindi man kasi, kaya nga take note, many of us are now transitioning to home study. Okay? Not homeschooling, iba yung homeschooling kasi sa homeschooling merong tool na ang parents lang, merong papasok lang yung teacher kung kailangan, or talagang si teacher, si parent ay nag-monitor lang. Okay? Tapos pertaining to the quality and assurance of learning, how can we assess both fast and low learners as well as gifted and special learners? Do we have any programs for this? I think right now there are certain groups of teachers who are starting to formulate assessments. Pero take note, my dear webinar participants, the kind of assessments that we shall be having right now it's not really about the traditional assessments. It's more on, sabi nga kanina, no, authentic assessments po ang kailangan. Okay? Authentic assessments po ang kailangan. Last question on the call by Felix Igual. Sometimes these students are very creative that made them the credible sources of fake and information. They make things complicated. How can we as teachers address this kind of problem? Ako ang masasuggest ko lang, no, be a role model. Let us model to them how to be truth seekers, no, instead of peddlers of fake news. We need to be the example. Okay? Saan pa ba sila matututo kundi sa atin din? Okay? And I think we need to also bring this to the level not only of education but even in social media personalities, na we need to combat fake news kasi that's really a pervasive problem today. Okay? Sige po. So I thank you. I thank everyone for joining in this webinar. I know you still have a lot of questions, pero para sa akin, this number right now is so reassuring na patuloy tayo nagre-ready, because I think ang aasahan naman po talaga ng ating mga mag-aaral ngayon ay tayo. Okay? So with that, I thank you for this opportunity that you've given me and my co-anchors. I thank Lawrence and Neil for joining me. So I turn you back to Kia. Kia.
Okay po, sir. Thank you very much. There we have it, mga ka-Vibal. Maraming salamat po in behalf of Vibal Group Incorporated. Sir Paulo, we would like to thank you for spending this very interactive and fruitful session this afternoon. And of course, special thanks to Sir Neil and Sir Lawrence for being with us this afternoon. Sobrang helpful po ang inyong input sa ating session. And it is an
Thank you so
honor.
much, Bibal.
Yes po, it is an honor for us to have you. Sana po may next time pa. Yan. And to all our Kabibal viewers, maraming salamat po for your continuous patronage to our learning sessions. Muli po, maraming salamat at magandang araw sa ating lahat.
Marami pong salamat.
Bye!
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Bal. God bless everyone.
Okay. Neil, and naka-live pa ba tayo?